Hey, what's going on everybody? It's ETAPRIME back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at some really awesome accessories for the ROG Ally from a company known as JSAUX. I've also got a battery pack here that I recently picked up. I thought I'd kind of show off because it does provide enough power for the Ally or basically any other handheld gaming device that you want to power with it, and I think it looks pretty cool also. If you're familiar with the Steam Deck, then you've probably heard about this company. They make a lot of cases, backplates, docks for the Steam Deck. But now they have a brand new ROG Ally line, and I think some of this stuff is really awesome. We're going to be taking a look at their brand new mod case for the ROG Ally, something that'll come in really handy for protecting your Ally when you're on the go. And they've also got their brand new RGB Transparent Back Plate. This is something I've been waiting on for a couple months. I think it looks absolutely amazing, at least in the images they've shown off so far. Definitely changes the overall look of the Ally. It'll add a little extra cooling, and they sprinkled in a little bit of RGB, which really kind of sets the device off. If you're interested in anything we're taking a look at in this video, I'll leave links in the description. But let's go ahead and get started here with the mod case. So I've actually been in the market for a good mod case for the ROG Ally. There's several listed on Amazon. I've tested a couple of the silicone cases. They're not great. I mean, there's a couple on there that were pretty decent. But this one here offers full protection for the Ally. We've got this removable front panel here. Now this is really great for just throwing it in your backpack. You don't have to worry about crushing the screen or anything like that. And when the front panel is on, we can still charge the device. Now along with this mod case, they also offer a strap system, so we can actually connect a battery to the back of this pretty easily or a hard drive. And this is one of the main reasons I wanted to throw that battery pack in here, because I do think it kind of fits with the whole aesthetic really nicely. I know we've got that clear panel on the battery itself, but it does go right along with this. We've also got a built-in kickstand, and I've always been a big fan of their accessories. They're very well built, and they've been on the market for a little while now, with these handheld accessories, so they kind of know what they're doing. And this here is made out of a really thick PU rubber or a PU plastic that is malleable, so we can actually slide the Ally right in here. It does take a little bit. You need to get it over the rear triggers, but it does fit quite nicely once you get it all situated. So basically, with the rear of the mod case installed, we've got full protection from the sides to our palm rest. The rear is also totally protected. Again, we've got that built-in kickstand, and this is one that's not going to kind of flop around on you. It's actually got a pretty strong magnet built in, so once it's closed, it's going to stay there until you need it. And it fits really nicely, but one of the main things here for the mod case is the front panel. So it's got those raised analog stick compartments. You don't have to worry about those sticks getting all jacked up in your backpack or anything like that. Added some extra texture here where the palm rests are, so it's not going to slip out of your hands. And all of the ports and vents are unblocked when this is installed. And when this front panel is on, we can still charge the device. They have added a little cutout up top here, so you can just plug it directly in. Not a problem to throw that charger right back on it. Now we've got one extra thing here, the rear strap system. Again, we can install a battery. Now I picked this up on Amazon. It was on a Black Friday deal. It's 2,000 milliamp hours. It does have a built-in LCD, so it'll show you the charge rate, and it will output up to 100 watts. Plus, we've got a little flashlight here, and since it'll do up to 100 watts, it will do 65 and fast charge the Ally, and we can get the maximum performance out of the Ally. It'll be like it's running in dock mode when this is plugged in. Strap system they added here is very simple to install. Basically, it's just going to latch right in the back of the mod case, and now it's not going to go anywhere. We can strap a battery pack right on here with the Velcro strap. And with this battery pack, I've been using it for about 4 days. I've actually messed around with it on the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally. It'll charge the internal battery of the Ally about 1.4 times, so if you do start with the Ally fully charged, you can get over double battery life when this is all plugged in. And of course, it's going to add some weight to the back of it. Doesn't look great, but if you need that extra battery life on the go, this would be a great option. Now, unfortunately, the battery pack doesn't come with this 90-degree USB Type-C cable. This is something I had laying around from something else I picked up. I totally forgot what it was, but I will leave a link. They do sell them on Amazon. It's one of those shorter cables, so you don't have too much to deal with, and you can kind of tuck it right in the back of that Velcro. That way you don't have that cable kind of dangling everywhere. And this will do up to 100 watts. Now, obviously, the ROG Ally will only charge it up to 65 watts, but once we plug this in, we can get the full performance out of this, just like if we were plugged into the wall, and I call that docked mode. Overall, not bad at all. Really do like the look of it. Having that front protection and a strapping system is awesome. But the next thing I wanted to take a look at was something I've been waiting on for a couple months. Now, it's totally not necessary, but it will change the overall look of the Ally, and I think it looks really awesome. So this is the RGB Transparent Back Plate for the ROG Ally. It does add a little extra ventilation. The unobstructed vents on the rear definitely kind of open it up. And by the end, I will run a couple stress tests just to see if we cooled it down a little bit or even got a better score on a benchmark. Inside of the box here, we have all of our accessories we need to install this, and it's really not that hard. It actually went together pretty easily. But the main claim to fame here is obviously, the clear rear shell and the RGB panel that we can add inside of the Ally. Now, unfortunately, this is not an OLED or anything like that. It's got its own built-in battery, and the image itself can be swapped out. They send a few that you can mess around with yourself, or you can totally customize one of the blank plates that they send along with it. They do have a full installation guide over on their website, also comes with instructions in the box. Like I mentioned, it's pretty easy to do. I've actually done a few modifications to my Steam Deck already, so I've had the back plate off several times. And of course, this isn't going to be for everybody, but I really do like having that, transparent look to my electronics. Plus, they've opened up these vents a lot larger than the ones that are on the stock rear shell of the Ally. Again, super simple to install, and the very first thing we want to do here is go ahead and shut down the Ally. This comes with everything we need, even a nice little screwdriver, and that's all you're going to need is the screwdriver that they send along with the kit. I'm just going to go through this kind of quickly. Like I mentioned, they've got a full installation video over on their website, really helpful. But on the rear, we've got 6 screws. We need to go ahead and remove these. Once we've got the screws removed, we're going to use the pick that they send along with it to kind of pry the rear shell off. Now, I've already taken this off a couple times, and I find the easiest way to get these rear shells off is to kind of pry it right up here by the trigger. Should pop right off for you. And with this unit here, I've already upgraded the SSD. These come with a 512 gigabyte drive. I went with a 1 terabyte due to pricing on these 2230 drives. And if we compare the rear vents on the stock shell versus the transparent shell, you can see that it will have a lot more ventilation for those fans to kind of draw more cool air in. We will need to reuse the rear buttons and triggers from the stock shell, but easy enough to go ahead and transfer these over. And we're going to start out with the rear buttons. Single screw with a little clipping system. I mean, once you take a look at it, it's pretty easy to get the hang of it. But keep in mind, there is a small spring right behind this large head screw that allows that rear trigger to kind of rebound back out. Don't lose it. Got a little bucket that I'm putting everything in. And now for the triggers, we've got 2 small Phillips head screws. And this little screwdriver that they send along with this transparent shell is actually really nice. I will definitely reuse this. Most of these companies send over the little clear and blue plastic screwdrivers that kind of get lost, but the one we have here is pretty high quality. Here's the trigger assembly. Need to do the same thing on the other side. And they do send along quite a bit of hardware. We've got the rear shell screws, but I actually didn't have to use these. I just reused everything that I took out of the stock shell. But just keep in mind, you've got a few extras here. Now it's time to place the rear buttons and triggers in the clear shell. These just kind of snap right in. They really only line up one way. And again, we've got that little spring that needs to go underneath the large head screw with those rear buttons. And we've only got 2 small Phillips heads for these. Plus, they do have some lineup posts, so this should go back together really easily. Everything lines up absolutely perfectly, and now we need to turn our attention to the Ally itself. There is a few things we need to do internally. Couple of these are optional. If you don't want to do them, you don't have to, but one of the major things here is we've actually got a light sensor on the motherboard of the ROG Ally. So once this detects light, the ROG Ally will not come back on. So we do need to cover this up. Luckily, they do send us these blackout stickers. They go perfectly over this light sensor. And keep in mind, if you do get this assembled, try to turn it on, it doesn't come on, just plug your charger in for a few seconds, and you can turn your ROG Ally back on. But for sure, we're going to have to cover this light sensor up. Once it's done, looks a little something like this. I've seen a few other transparent cases on the market, but all of them are going to kind of leave our battery exposed, and personally, I don't think this looks great. It's just got that silver wrap over it, but JSAUX has come up with a solution. We've actually got this really nice thick sticker that kind of goes right over that battery, covering all that silver up. Now, you don't have to put this on if you don't want to. It's not going to affect the performance or anything, but I do think it's going to look a lot better with this installed. I think that this was an awesome idea that they came up with. Now really, the final thing we need to worry about here is the RGB panel. This comes with 5 different designs that we can install. Actually 6 if you just want to use one of these and not customize it. It'll just give us, a nice little RGB glow. But these are included so you can customize them yourself. Basically, you'll put a stencil down, paint over that with some nice black paint, peel the stencil off, and then you can install it in the RGB panel. Whenever I have to do anything like this, I usually have my wife take care of it. She's just got a much steadier hand, but unfortunately she's been sick for the last few days. So I'm going to ask her when she feels better if she doesn't mind making a few stencils. I think it would be really cool to customize a few of these. Like having Z1 Extreme or maybe even just an AMD logo would be pretty awesome. So of course, since this has a little RGB strip in it, it needs to be powered, but luckily it's actually got its own built-in battery. It's a pretty cool little design. We don't have to plug anything into the Ally, risk anything messing up. Basically, it's got its own USB Type-C charging port up top here. And yes, I have charged it with the higher wattage PD charger. So with the stock Ally charger, you can charge this up. It's a smaller battery. It's not going to take long at all. And you can get around 4 hours of runtime out of it. 5 different RGB modes. 5 different RGB modes. And once this is installed, you actually have access to the button up top to change those modes or turn it on or off. Plus, we've got access to the USB Type-C charging port. And the RGB module sits perfectly right here. Now we can actually put the rear shell on it. And this will snap right in place. I mean, it is a perfect fit for the Ally. All we need to do is go ahead and put the screws in, and I think we're good to go. And in my opinion, this looks really nice. Now, unfortunately, they're not offering any colors right now. Maybe later on down the road, but right now over on their website, they've only got the transparent clear. But if we take a look at the sides here, everything lines up perfectly. I think they knocked it out of the park with this one. And in order to charge up the RGB module, we've got an extra USB Type-C port right here, along with our power/mode button. We'll just hold this little button for about 3 seconds. It'll turn the RGB on. We can tap it up to 5 times. It'll change through those modes. So we've got 5 different RGB modes that we can use. So yeah, I personally think it looks great. Definitely adds a little extra to the Ally. But with those unobstructed larger vents, we should be able to get cooler temps. And in order for me to test this, what I did was run Cinebench R23 at a couple different wattages, with and without the back panel. First run with Cinebench R23 was in turbo mode, stock fan curve on battery. Didn't mess around with anything. With the stock backplate, by the end of the run, our maximum temperature on that APU was 75 degrees Celsius. We got a score of 12,016. With the new backplate, our maximum temperature dropped down to 70 degrees Celsius and it also upped that total score to 12,903. The up score really isn't anything to write home about, but I was really surprised to see that we actually dropped that temp by 5 degrees Celsius. So the next thing I did was take it up to 30 watts in dock mode with the fan at full speed, so we can adjust that curve in manual mode. With the stock backplate, 77 degrees Celsius, our score was 13,305. And with the new backplate, our maximum temperature was 73 degrees Celsius. We had a score of 13,717. So yeah, I mean, we are getting more airflow in here. It's keeping that APU cooler, which allows it to boost just a little bit longer. But it's not a super significant gain. We're not going to get a ton of FPS out of this while playing games, but obviously it does cool the Ally better. So yeah, I'm really loving the RGB transparent case for the ROG Ally. Over on their website, they do offer a few extra accessories, and if you're interested in picking up any of this, I'll leave some links in the description. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. If you've got any questions, let me know down below, and like always, thanks for watching.